The Lost Necklace. My name is Emma. I'm 65 years old. Many years ago, I worked for a very wealthy family. Their house was large and filled with beautiful things. There were many rooms, spacious gardens, and soft chairs. I cleaned the house, mopped the floors, and cooked in the kitchen every day. Mr. Thomas was the father, Mrs. Margaret was the mother, and their little boy was named Samuel. I enjoyed my job and felt content there. I thought I would stay for many years. The family owned many expensive items: golden lamps, silver plates, and old paintings. Mrs. Margaret had many rings, bracelets, and necklaces. She especially loved one gold necklace. She wore it every day and always kept it close. When she touched it, she smiled. I knew it meant a lot to her. I was always careful when I cleaned her room. One morning, everything changed. Mrs. Margaret couldn't find her gold necklace. She looked in her room, but it wasn't there. She searched the kitchen and the garden. She asked Mr. Thomas and Samuel if they had seen it. Then she asked me. I told her I hadn't seen it. She stared at me for a long time. I felt cold inside. That afternoon, things got worse. Mr. Thomas called me to the living room. Mrs. Margaret stood beside him, and Samuel stayed behind her. Mr. Thomas spoke in a firm voice. He said they still couldn't find the necklace. He said they had trusted me, but now they weren't sure. I tried to speak, but my voice was weak. Mr. Thomas told me I had to leave the house. He said I should go and not come back. Mrs. Margaret didn't look at me. Samuel stayed quiet. I packed my small bag. My hands were shaking. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I walked out of the big house slowly. The sky looked gray and heavy. I sat on the street with my bag. I didn't know where to go. I felt small and alone. People passed by, but no one looked at me. I thought about the house, the garden, and little Samuel. I thought about the happy days I had lost. My heart was very heavy that day. As I sat there, I wondered why they believed I took the ring. I was always kind and honest. I cleaned their house like it was my own. I loved working there, but now they thought I was a thief. It hurt more than I can say. I closed my eyes and wished the day would end. I stayed on the street for a long time, feeling cold and tired. The day was slow and the sun went down. I watched the lights come on in the windows of the houses. I thought about where I could sleep that night. I had no home and no family in the city. My bag was small and light. It only had a few clothes and some coins. I got up and started to walk, but my legs felt heavy and weak. I found a small bench near a park. It was not soft. but it was a place to sit. I looked at the sky and saw many stars. They looked so far away, and I felt even smaller. I hugged my bag close to my chest. A cold wind blew through the trees. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but my mind was full of sad thoughts. I missed my little room in the big house. I missed hearing Samuel's laugh in the morning. The next day I woke up early. My back hurt from sleeping on the bench. My clothes were dirty and my hair was messy. I walked to a small cafe and used the last coins I had to buy a piece of bread. The woman at the counter looked at me with cold eyes. I sat near the window and ate slowly. I watched happy people walk by outside. They had clean clothes and warm homes. I felt like I was invisible to everyone. Later, I went to the market to look for work. I asked many people if they needed help. Some people said no. Some didn't even answer. A man selling apples told me to move away. I tried to stay strong, but my heart was breaking. I wanted to cry, but I kept the tears inside. I told myself to be brave even when everything felt so hard. I walked all day, but I found no work. That evening I sat again near the park. The sky was red and orange as the sun went down. I thought about my life before. I thought about the smiles from Margaret and Thomas. I remembered Samuel's small hands when he gave me flowers from the garden. I wondered if they missed me at all. Maybe they forgot me quickly. Maybe they were happy now without me. I felt like a small stone someone had thrown away. Suddenly, I heard a voice calling my name. I looked up and saw a woman running toward me. It was Margaret. Her face was red from running, and she was out of breath. She wore a long coat, and in her hand she held something small and shiny. My heart started to beat fast. I stood up, but I didn't know what to say. Why was she here? What did she want from me now? Margaret came close and held out her hand. In her hand was the gold necklace. It was not lost. It was never stolen. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. She said they found the necklace. It had fallen behind a big chair in the living room. They only found it when they moved the furniture to clean. She said she was very sorry for everything. Her voice shook as she spoke. I looked at the necklace, then at Margaret. I felt many things at once. I felt happy that I was not a thief. I felt sad for all the pain. I felt angry that they did not trust me. I wanted to scream, but I stayed quiet. Margaret asked me to come back to work. She said they missed me. She said Samuel cried for me every night. But I stood still. I did not take her hand. I did not move. I looked at Margaret standing there with the necklace in her hand. Her face was full of sadness, but I stayed quiet. I thought about the cold words they said to me. I thought about the long night I spent on the bench. I thought about how they did not believe me when I told the truth. My heart was heavy. I wanted to forgive her, but it was not easy. Some hurts stay deep inside for a long time. Margaret spoke again. She said Thomas felt very bad too. She said Samuel asked for me every morning. She told me they wanted me back at the house. She said I would have my room, my bed, and my work again. She promised they would never doubt me again. I listened to her words, but I stayed still. I was not sure if I could trust them again. Trust is easy to break and hard to fix. I looked at the big house far away. Its windows were bright with warm yellow light. I thought about the kitchen where I used to bake bread. I thought about the garden where Samuel played. I thought about the room where I read my books at night. My heart pulled me back, but my mind told me to be careful. It's hard to go back to a place where your heart was broken. Margaret put the necklace into her pocket and wiped her eyes. She said she understood if I could not forgive them. She said she just wanted me to know the truth. She said it was not right to judge someone so fast. She said she learned a big lesson. Her voice was soft and full of tears. I could see she really felt sorry, but I still felt cold inside. I took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. The stars were bright and beautiful. They looked so peaceful, so far from all the pain. I thought about my life and my dreams. I thought about finding a new place where people would trust me. I thought about starting fresh. Sometimes it's better to move forward than to go back. Margaret waited for me to say something. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I just shook my head slowly. I picked up my bag and started to walk away. I heard Margaret call my name again, but I did not turn back. I needed time to heal. I needed time to believe in myself again. I needed to find a new path, a better one. As I walked down the empty street, the wind blew through my hair. My steps were slow, but each step felt a little stronger. I did not know where I would sleep that night. I did not know where I would work, but I knew one thing. I did not want to live where my heart was not safe. I wanted a new beginning. I passed a small shop with a bright window. Inside, a woman was putting bread into baskets. She looked kind and busy. I watched her for a moment. Maybe I could find work there. Maybe this was a sign. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the door. It was time to begin again. I opened the door to the small shop. A warm smell of fresh bread and cake filled the air. The woman behind the counter looked up and smiled at me. Her smile was kind and soft. I felt a little hope inside my chest. I walked slowly to the counter and said hello. My voice was small. The woman behind the counter looked at me kindly. "Are you looking for work?" she asked. I nodded. She smiled and said, "We could use some help in the mornings. Can you start tomorrow?" Tears filled my eyes, but I smiled back. "Yes, thank you." That night, I slept in a small room above the bakery. It was warm and quiet. I felt safe. In the morning, I woke up early and helped break bread. The smell of fresh loaves filled the air. Customers came in, smiling and chatting. I felt useful again. Days turned into weeks. I learned new recipes and made friends. The pain from the past slowly faded. I still thought about the big house and little Samuel, but I no longer felt sad. One day, a little boy came into the bakery with his mother. He looked at me and smiled. "You remind me of someone," he said. I smiled back. "Maybe it's because I love to bake." He laughed and took a cookie. I watched him leave, feeling a warmth in my heart. I had found a new home, a new family, and a new purpose. Life had given me a second chance, and I was grateful.